Yogananda said, a saint is a sinner who never gave up. One time someone said to Yogananda, you're a master. And Master said, what do you think made me a master?
Okay. Consciousness of the guru has a kind of a magnetism to it. Some gurus don't even speak. It's really just the state of consciousness. And if we were able to say, I am absolutely free and I have no attachments and I am united with God.
Someone who's drug addicted, that's a hard one to break.
Yogananda said that the second most important thing is satsang, and the most intimate satsang you can have is with the spouse. Our life is dedicated partly to helping people be aware that time given to achieving their highest potential help to bring peace into the world, to be ambassadors to peace.
Come out of your closed chamber of limitation. Breathe in the fresh air of vital thoughts. Exhale poisonous thoughts of discouragement, discontent, or hopelessness.
Nayaswami Jyotish and Nayaswami Devi are spiritual directors of Ananda Sangha worldwide, a global network of meditation and spiritual communities inspired by the teachings of Paramahamsa Yogananda. They have dedicated over 55 years of sharing of Paramahamsa Yogananda's teachings on meditation and Kriya Yoga. Their journey began as students of Swami Kriyananda, a direct disciple of Paramahamsa Yogananda. Nayaswami Jyotish is Swami Kriyananda's spiritual successor and Dharmacharya of Ananda Sangha. As the global ambassadors of Ananda Sangha, they offer inspiration through their lectures, books, online programs, and weekly blogs. Nayaswami Jyotish and Devi guide seekers worldwide in finding their inner peace and joy. Their message emphasizes spiritual realization, service, and spiritual community, fostering a global movement for higher consciousness. Friends, let's welcome our dear guests, Global Directors of Ananda Sangha, Nayaswami Jyotish Ji and Nayaswami Devi ma'am. Sir, welcome. Ma'am, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's so nice to be able to chat together today.
Yes, I'm equally so grateful to you that you manage your time. And before starting our discussion on true potential, how to awaken our true potential, could you please tell about your life journey, maybe your childhood, and how spiritual thought came into your mind, and how did you join Ananda Sangha, and how did you meet Kriyananda ji?
Will each answer? You can start.
Okay, I'll start. It was an interesting journey because I grew up in the Midwest of America. My parents were not religious particularly, but they were very liberal-minded and artistic. My father was an architect. My mother was an internationally awarded weaver. And so I grew up in an artistic household, but as I say, not a particularly religious one. My interest was not in spirituality as I grew up, but I was very interested in the scope of consciousness, and that's what drove me. So in college, I studied psychology, but I didn't find the answers I was looking for there. And then immediately after college, I graduated in 1966 from University of Minnesota. I had visited San Francisco and enjoyed the freedom and the West Coast. And it was, for people growing up in the Midwest, San Francisco was a little bit of a magical place in the mid-1960s. So I moved out there, and shortly after I moved, I read Autobiography of a Yogi. And that absolutely changed my life, partly because more than anything I had ever read, certainly more than my education, it addressed directly the scope of consciousness that was possible for all of us. I somehow knew that intuitively, but I'd never been able up until that time to find it. And so reading that book really changed my life. Subsequently, we've been with this work for 55 years. We've met hundreds, perhaps thousands of people who have had their lives changed by that book. And then a few months after reading it, I met Swami Kriyananda. And soon after meeting him, I began taking his classes. And he was teaching a series of classes how to meditate and yoga postures in San Francisco. And I took that series. And then the next time he taught that class series, I took it again. And the third time he taught it, I took it again. He realized I was more interested than the other students. So he quickly drew me in, and I became his assistant in 1967. And from that time on, really, he shaped my life and shaped my future. So it was it, I would say what a lucky coincidence that was. But now I know there are no such things as coincidences. But I feel very blessed to have been like a little kitten. The mother picked me up and put me exactly where she wanted me to be. And my life has unfolded since that time.
So beautiful. So, before understanding how it shaped your further life, we would love to know about Ma Devi. How did you start your spiritual journey? What was the quest behind?
Well, in a way, I think I have to work backwards because at this point in my life, I realized, looking at all the events of my childhood and education, that I was looking for something, but I didn't know it at the time. I didn't know what I was looking. When I was a little girl, people would ask me, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" And I would just say,
So beautiful.
and but they didn't know what to do with that. But I think that's just what I was always looking for. What it, what kind of life can I find that will be enduring, that will be meaningful, that will be fulfilling and bring me happiness? And up till I went through education, college, and all that, and everything just seemed, this was okay, but it's not going to bring me what I'm looking for. And then my last semester of college, someone gave me autobiography of a yogi, and I started reading it, but I was in the middle of finals and couldn't focus very well. But I had it. But then the same person who gave me the autobiography handed me a little sheet of paper that a friend of theirs, this was in Midwest, Wisconsin, a friend of theirs in Boston had received it and mailed it to my friend in Wisconsin. And I have a feeling Jyotish had probably mailed it out from San Francisco because it was about Ananda, the retreat there. And my friend showed me that. And I didn't know what my next step was. I thought, well, I'll go here for the summer. I was accepted in graduate school. Uh, I was what I studied was anthropology because I wanted to understand how do people how do their lives formed by their belief system. And so I came out to Ananda and I met Swami Kriyananda. And then I started reading autobiography. And he opened, like for Jyotish, he opened the doors, the inner doors for me. And when I heard him lecture, I thought, everything this man knows is what I want to know. And it just, his, but looking back, I think you even have to go honestly into past lives because when I think Jyotish was Swami's son, I think I was his daughter, and there was just this deep familiarity. He was very relaxed and natural with us, and we would joke with him, and he just enjoyed being with us because it was natural and relaxed. It wasn't like, the great spiritual teacher, but there was an inward familiarity, not on a kind of a disrespectful level, but on a soul level.
Yes, definitely. So I heard about your name. I think in childhood, uh, when someone asked you, "What is your name?" Could you please share that? Yeah.
It's a good story.
That was good. It was in the West, when we learn how to write, we have these little print. You have these linear papers, and this was like in first grade. And my name that my parents gave me was Phyllis, and so we were printing our names very concentratedly, and then I wrote it and I looked at it. So I was probably 7 years old, 8 years old, and I said, "That's not my name." And I thought, well, what is your name? And I thought, and I said, well, it's something like Debbie, but not with the B's. And then, 18 years later, Swami came up to me and said, I'm going to give you the name Devi, and it means Divine Mother, and you'd better live up to it. So that was a big assignment.
I'll tell you one secret about this, name. Devi is none but the same meaning of Devi. So the Devi is Bengali pronunciation.
Yes, I know. We have friends,
Yes,
Devi.
yes.
Yeah.
How interesting. Maybe she was Bengali
Yeah, yeah.
before.
Yes, yes. And she was so intuitive. Great, great, ma'am. So, yes, let's go into our today's discussion, and that is how to awaken our true potential. So, according to you, what is the true potential in spirituality or in day-to-day life, and how one can, grow up, how one can embark it in their life?
Mhm. Well, as we've been talking already, the soul has an existence and a consciousness that precedes this incarnation. And so there are really two potentials. One is the potential of our soul. And according to our teachings, the teachings of Yogananda, but Yogananda is just kind of bringing the ancient Vedic teachings into modern expression. So it's not different from what there is in the Gita or the Mahabharata, the Ramayana, the ancient scriptures, Upanishads, any of those things. It's the teaching that the soul incarnates again and again in different forms. We have these two potentials: the soul, which is our infinite nature, is basically, to put it very simply, our soul comes from God, and there's this impulse that is always there of wanting to return to unity with God. So our soul's highest potential is to reunite with our infinite source. The ego's highest potential in any one given lifetime is to live in such a way that it helps that soul journey. So, depending on how many incarnations we've lived, we have to go through karmic tests in order to free our consciousness so that we become more aligned with the soul. And so we have these two natures. Our potential in any given life is to be as creative, as expansive, as intelligent, as successful, to be as good of a person and live as good of a life as possible. So one can say that's the ultimate potential for our individual life. And then the soul's potential is to have a series of better and better lives that are closer and closer to our infinite potential until ultimately we're freed from attachment and can reunite with God.
So, how to reach that level? How to be aware enough? How to be conscious? How to be intuitive? In childhood, normally kids are very intuitive, they are very much with nature. But once we start growing up, we forget our true self.
Yes.
So, how to understand and how from where to start?
I think as an adult, we I very much resonate with what you said. I love watching children play because they're so open, so filled with joy, and then we lose that because life begins to beat us down, and oh, you can't do this, and you're not good enough to do that, and this won't work for you, and so I think what Jyotish was talking about is on a very high level, but I think for most people, just to look at their own life and our Guruji Yogananda talked a lot about self-analysis, looking at what's holding you back, and and then conscientiously working on those things. So I think for most people, to get started. That's just the whole thing. Just I can be more than I am right now. You don't have to think I'm going to be the greatest in the world, the GOAT, greatest of all times, but just to say, how can I take my next step forward? And this starts by looking with self honesty, what's holding me back? What habits, what attitudes? And then really begin working on them. It's like we are a work in progress. We were sharing the other evening that we saw someone who had a t shirt that said, "Be patient with me. God isn't done with me yet." And if we can just pick it up from that string, we are a work in progress. Let's take the next steps.
Yes, yes, definitely. So, how books can help us? Like, this book, Autobiography of Yogi, has played a great role in, uplifting people and their consciousness. So, what would you like to say about?
Well, books are very, very important for the upliftment of mankind, of consciousness. How do we get knowledge? How do we get higher knowledge? Our associates, generally speaking, don't have it unless we're already spiritualized and living with spiritually uplifted people. So, how do we get higher knowledge? Mostly in today's world, media doesn't give that to us, but we can choose books by people who know the truth. And the more wisdom they have and the more clarity that they have in writing that, then we absorb that. And there's really a progress of the soul. We first start by reading books and getting some truth. That awakens in us the desire for more. And then we seek out a teacher. And that teacher, if it's a wise teacher, teaches us well and turns us to have a true guru. And when we have a true guru, which is someone whose consciousness is united with God, then he can lead us to ultimate truth. Now, in our case, we're very fortunate that our line has a true guru like Yogananda and a very wise, liberated teacher like Swami Kriyananda. So they were able to guide us very clearly and quickly toward uncovering the source of our own inner spirituality, our own inner connection with God. But books are, generally speaking, where people start on their road to higher knowledge and higher truth.
The master, Swami Kriyananda ji.
Swami Kriyananda has written his own autobiography called The New Path.
Mhm.
It's really about his guru, Yogananda, but it traces his life as well. And he was desperately seeking truth, meaning in life. And then it's a marvelous story. I won't go into it in too much detail, but just he discovered Autobiography of a Yogi in a bookstore in New York. And first he tried to walk away. He said, "Oh, I've read too many books." And he started walking down the street and he felt this force pulling him back to the bookstore. And he bought that book and he read it nonstop for 3 days. And then he took the next bus from New York to Los Angeles to meet Yogananda. And uh, the first words he said to him, "I want to be your disciple." And Yogananda was feeling him out and trying to, sense, how is this man sincere? Will he commit himself? And he said, how did you like my autobiography? Yogananda asked Swamiji. And he said, oh, I loved it, sir. And Master said, it's because it has my vibrations in it. And Swami didn't know, he was brand new. He didn't, vibrations, a book of vibrations, but that's the power of the great, all great scriptures, everything. It's like it has a quality that realigns your thought processes, really.
Yes.
And you receive something not intellectually, but on the level of consciousness. So autobiography has changed millions of lives throughout the world. And Swami, as a very active disciple, very dedicated disciple, has expanded and extended that work.
So, as you both are leading to this organization right now, Ananda Sangha, and you're leading globally, what are the main teachings you are giving to people? What are the basic things for awakening our true potential for the people or for us, for our day-to-day life, or how to balance our spiritual path and equally materialistic life? We have to balance everything.
Of course we do, yes. Well, there are two elements to our path, which Yogananda said. He said we need to have both deep meditation and service to mankind in some way. And so those two aspects are really what we teach in a wide variety of forms and circumstances. But the primary thing that we teach is meditation, and our path has certain techniques that we give people. And so we have series of classes and books. I've written 2 books on one how to meditate and another lessons in meditation that have been served as a basis for tens of thousands of people to learn meditation. So the techniques of meditation, the daily practice of meditation, and the network to support people in the effort to integrate that into their life. That's one major part of our work. Then the other major part of our work is to try to serve people, to try to support people, to try to bring them to their own highest self. We aren't interested in imposing our path on other people. We offer it, of course. It's very valuable, but people have to find their own path. We're just interested in trying to help everyone rise to their own highest potential. But some of that highest potential has to be that you get outside of thinking about yourself, outside of self-interest. So, of course, we encourage people to do things that help uplift society. And if it's fine to try to become successful, but if in becoming successful you become selfish, it actually diminishes you. Become successful and then share that success. Help others achieve success. If you're wealthy, share that wealth so that you help uplift society. All of that expands the consciousness. So those two aspects, meditation and service, are really the fundamental basis of our path. And that's what we share. But as I say, in 1,000 different varieties and forms and talks and so on. But it's really the fundamental truths that have been there since time immemorial.
And one other aspect that Yogananda brought to the West was the concept of world brotherhood communities, colonies. And Swami Kriyananda, of all Master's disciples, took up this aspect of his mission and started Ananda World Brotherhood Community, where that's our home base. But we have 6 other communities throughout America, a very beautiful European one outside of Assisi, Italy. And in time, we'll have many in India too. But why communities? Because in this time, people need to understand that you can bring spirituality into every aspect of life. into home, family, job, business, education, creating a beautiful environment. And that's what we've done. At Ananda Villages, people who come to visit, it's really like a paradise because every action is the direction of it is do it in service and awareness to God. And you look at the gardens, you look at the little animals that we care for, and they're just everything is radiant. We have a lot of wild animals that come around, big deer with big antlers, and they just walk right around you. You know, they'll look at you. They don't run away because they feel this is a haven of peace. And so to show that spirituality is not divorced from daily life, but in this age, as where people are confused, values are unstable, and people don't know, the old forms of religion don't mean that much to people anymore, but to a new way of living where God is in every aspect of life. That's a lot of what we try to share as well.
Definitely, definitely. You almost answered my next question, and about the community, as we have seen, ashram culture, that community culture in our childhood. Whenever we visited Belur Mutt or this kind of culture, Paramhams Ramakrishna ji. So it's beautiful culture. And as you mentioned about meditation, could you please elaborate more about meditation? How meditation can help each and every person from very childhood to adult and senior citizens? Yes. When should we particularly start in our life meditation?
Right. You know, we have a school system and we don't force meditation on the children, but from very early age, we have quiet time and we help them guide visualization and interiorization. Yogananda defined meditation as deep focus on God or on one of the qualities of God, qualities such as peace and joy and love or sound and light. So, meditation is really the quieting of the mind and allowing your consciousness to get rid of the nervousness and outward attachment and desires and all of the busyness of life, just to have a time where the mind can turn inward and become focused. In a certain sense, we're trying to get to a different state of consciousness that just as we sleep at night, sleep revives us. If we can, one might say, have that withdrawal of energy but stay awake and focused, one could say that is similar to meditation. And so achieving that peace, and as the mind calms down and becomes inward, then we also begin to see our own potential, our own, one might say, spirituality, but it isn't religious, it's just who we are. And so meditation, if taught to people, would allow so much of the conflict and the actions of a negative sort between people. We read that the Dalai Lama said that if all first graders were taught meditation, war would disappear within a generation. So if people could come to the understanding of their own peace and their own interconnectedness, they wouldn't want to fight with each other.
Yes, so beautiful. That's very much true. So, how meditation help us in manifesting whatever we like, or whatever the how to be aligned with our true self, our higher self, and how meditation really play a role in aligning all these things from God to, being a human.
Yeah, it starts off, as Jyotish has been saying, with concentrating the mind, getting rid of distractions, being able to focus on what you're doing. And then the more you're able to do that, the more you feel a flow of energy into everything you do, which takes it to the next level. I'll share a little story that how Swami Kriyananda gave us a great gift of the power of concentration. Uh, we were always building and creating and painting things. We still are. But he was moving into a new geodesic dome. And he asked people, who wants to come help me paint? And so a big group gathered, and we were all, he was young at the time and in good health. And so I went over, and it had a big, being a geodesic dome, it's, a circular structure, and it had a beautiful window looking out over a river valley, but it had all these rough wood beams that needed to be painted. So I had to get up on a scaffold, and we started at about 11 in the morning, and we painted, and I had to do coat after coat after coat because the wood wouldn't absorb the paint. And then he looked at his watch, so he said, "Okay, let's take a lunch break." So and then we came back at 2, and he said, "Okay, let's continue." And so I was up on the scaffolding, and everybody was painting. Swami was painting, and then it was about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Then Swami said, "Okay, let's call it a day." We looked at our watches. It was 2 in the morning. We'd been painting for 12 hours, totally without thinking about it, without getting tired. And he gave every single one of us in that room, this is concentration. This is total self-forgetfulness. And we were able to finish the room in one day, which probably would have taken a long, long time. So the power of concentration, it enhances everything we do. It helps us to forget, oh, I'm tired, this is getting boring, all the distractions of the mind. And you can accomplish so much more with that concentrated mind.
Yes, yes, and this beautiful experience can help people to really, work on their true potential.
Yeah.
In
Yes,
fact.
yes. So, would you like to please share a couple of your own experiences, Swamiji, you too? With your experience, maybe people or I may get deeper insight.
Let's see, a good experience to share. When I first met Swami, we were living in San Francisco, and he was teaching classes. I was helping him teach classes. But what I learned at that time, before I met him, I was also uh, working as a social worker. And I worked with a group of older people, and especially a special caseload of those who had problems. So during my daily routine, my daily work, I was working with these people, and they would, in some cases, be alcoholics or drug users, and they didn't have the ability to hold a job, so they would live on welfare money, and they would perhaps get just enough to live in a room in a hotel. But because they were alcoholics and so disruptive, they would get thrown out of that hotel, and then it would fall on me to try to help relocate them. And so I worked with this caseload during the day, and then I worked with Swami in the evenings. And what I saw so very, very clearly was that the people that Swami was teaching meditation and spiritual truths to, their lives were changing. And the people that weren't working on their own consciousness, their lives weren't changing at all. They were just repeating the same problems over and over again. So it became just crystal clear in my own experience that you can't make permanent changes unless you change consciousness. And that changing of consciousness is, one might say, that's the whole purpose of meditation and living a spiritual life, to uplift and expand your consciousness. And when you do that, everything in your life becomes better, easier. And if you don't do that, you just repeat the same errors again and again and again.
So, as you mentioned, very great example, and this habit of being alcoholic or drug addicts, how these people can come out of their the habit, how to break our habit, how to break the pattern, because people are facing these hurdles in their day-to-day life. These are the basic and very challenging problem.
Of course.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, in this book that I'll show it actually, How to Awaken Your True Potential. And it's all quotes that we've put together uh, from Yogananda ji. He talks a lot about overcoming habits and the importance of willpower. He said most people, they have the intention, but they don't follow the intention up with energy and willpower. And so it always eludes them. But, you know, uh, someone who's drug addicted, that's a hard one to break because it's physical as well. But nevertheless, if you make the decision, I want to change my life, then you take the steps you need to do to change them. And something very important is environment. If you're with people that just support your negative habits and patterns, whatever they may be, gossiping, lying, addictions, you have no motivation. But if you're with people, and that's the beauty of ashram community, because we've had people, and I'll be honest with you, who have had drinking problems, but because of the positive supportive environment, they were able to break those habits. So environment is very, very important. So Master talks about energy, using energy to overcome habits, self-honesty. Oh, I slipped again. But he also talks about continual affirmation. Not, oh, I failed. Okay, I'm giving up. You keep trying, and then one day you realize I'm really getting ahead of this game. And then to have people around you who, whether you talk about it or not, but they're just in a kind of a vibration, just as we were talking about the vibration of books, that breaks those tamasic, those lowering habit patterns.
Also, I'll add one more aspect here, and that's not to identify with your bad habits as being yourself. So Swami Kriyananda said that he gave up smoking, and it took him some time. And he would give it up, and then he would begin smoking again. But he never thought, I've failed. He just said, I haven't yet succeeded in my desire to stop smoking. He told a friend who drank alcohol, he said, understand that drinking alcohol is tamasic. It will bring your consciousness down. But he said, but also understand that no habit is your true self. It's just something that you have taken on. And because you've taken it on, you can decide to get rid of it. But don't identify yourself as an alcoholic or as a drug addict or as someone who is a gossip even. Just identify yourself as someone who has a potential that's much greater than that, and you have this bad habit that you need to overcome.
Yogananda said, a saint is a sinner who never gave up.
Wow. Yes.
That's pretty,
Yes.
Yeah.
that's a good wire to hold on to and pull you forward. But it's true. That's how we become transformed, is you just keep trying. And, all the great masters, one time someone said to Yogananda, Master was encouraging him to do something, and he said, well, that's easy for you to say, sir. You're a master. And Master said, what do you think made me a master? It didn't just come automatically, and that's the point.
Yeah, yeah. So can we achieve this level in one lifetime, or how it is for different people, or do we need to take so many incarnations to get here?
Well, there are two answers to that. One is the ideal. We can achieve it in one lifetime because it's really just the state of consciousness. And if we were able to say, I am absolutely free and I have no attachments, and I am united with God. If we're able to say that with complete conviction, then we would achieve that. And in fact, Master, we call Yogananda Ji Master. Master was saying that to a group of disciples, and one of the disciples said, well, I wouldn't be free just by saying I was free, would I, Master? And Master said, well, you've answered your own question. So ideally, yes, we can become free in one lifetime. In reality, because we have habits of thinking and habits that come from practicing certain consciousness, maybe for many, many lifetimes, then we carry with us karmic tendencies. And to overcome those karmic tendencies, we have to put out the, one might say, the equal amount of energy to get rid of a way of thinking that created that way of thinking. And so in that sense, in a practical sense, it does take more than one lifetime. But the really important thing is that we, in this lifetime, because we really have no other time except this present moment. And so in the present moment, to keep putting out whatever energy we can toward the achievement of our highest ideals. And if we do that, it will lead us surely to the true highest ideal, which is our union with God.
But we should never, even however long the road seems ahead of us, we should never lose hope, but just say, I can do this. People sometimes will practice meditation and for years, and I'm not really getting anywhere. I don't feel any changes. In fact, I remember once we were riding in the car with Swamiji, and I had been at Ananda for about 10 years at that time. And he was talking about different ones, how this person was growing and that person was growing. And we usually didn't talk much when we were about ourselves with Swami, but it kind of came out, and I said, gosh, I don't feel like I've changed all that much. And he really drew himself up. He said, how can you say that? You're a totally different person than when you came. I couldn't see it, but that's why we just can't. We have to keep the hope in our hearts that something is happening. And I'll share that one of my very favorite quotes of Master, I just stumbled upon it from his reading. He said, this is Master speaking, I remember the day when for the first time, unlooked for, from behind the clouds of drudgery, of routine meditating habits, there burst upon my consciousness the aurora of bliss. It surpassed all my expectations, joy indescribable. And I try to remember that, because if you're sitting, okay, I have to meditate tonight and I'm tired, but I'll do it anyway. Any moment, unlooked for, that bursting upon your consciousness. So to live in expectation of the fruit of your spiritual efforts and your human efforts as well.
And it was really so insightful thought and a message from the master. So you being a mother, mother of not only your own kid but the entire sangha, how do you feel the women, they can work on their consciousness when they have to manage a lot of things at a time? They have to be multitaskers, they have to take care of their family, their husband, their kids, and nowadays in modern time they are working also. So how did you balance your life? How did you balance your responsibility in this sangha?
I had, before we were married and had a child, I had been meditating for about 6 years, pretty dedicatedly. And then, fortunately, I had the marvelous karma to marry a great yogi who had a very marvelous meditation.
I want to know how did you
Okay,
choose each other?
that's a fun
That's another
story,
story.
yeah.
But and so from the first days of our marriage, there was always, we had a meditation room, we'd meditate morning and evening. It was always a part of our life. And then life changes and families, children come and different things happen. But really for women to, because we can get so pulled out of ourselves in service to others that we don't take care of ourselves. But to just remember, by taking time for self-care, not self-indulgence, but meditation, spirituality, you have then you can really give and be there and be present for everyone. But if you're just letting yourself be drained and you think, well, this is what I'm supposed to do. No, that isn't the right attitude. You have to be able to feel God's presence within you, and then from that center, then you serve other people. And you see that Swami would always counsel us, don't feel like you're just serving your children or your husband. Feel that you're serving God in them. And that makes it so much more fulfilling and energizing. And, we've been married, this is maybe personal, but we're coming up to 50 years. And it's just been increasingly joyful, positive, cooperative, creative. It's honestly, it's second to Master Swami. It's the greatest blessing in my life. So that's kind of personal. But
Yeah, and in mine too. To have a spiritual partner who shares your ideals and you work together as a partnership for it, it's a great, great blessing. Yogananda said that other than the blessing of a true guru, the second most important thing is satsang, or being in the presence of other uplifting consciousness. And the most intimate satsang you can have is with the spouse or your own family. And so it's a great blessing to have that. But as Davidji was saying, to include your life as you're living it, as you have to live it with your responsibilities, to include that not as separate from your spirituality, but as a part of it. So see that you're serving God in your husband or your wife and your children, and try to do so with joy and with appreciation and uplifted consciousness. It really does change daily life for us.
and if we serve others in that way, their lives are changed too. When our son was, I don't know, maybe about 8 or 9 years old, because he grew up in an ashram environment. He said, "Why do you always do whatever Swami tells you to do?" And I wanted him to understand it wasn't just about, authority figure, but I said, because we love him. He's our very best friend, and we just want to make him happy. And he paused and he said, I guess I haven't loved anybody that much yet. And I said, you will. But he recognized that there was a special kind of connection. And it's good for children to see that.
Yes, yes. But here, one question arises: like, what really made you to dedicate your entire life for on this journey? On the having practicing spirituality in our life is different, but dedicating the entire life for such higher purpose. What was your real purpose from the beginning, and how did you meet that?
We could give different answers and maybe glib answers, but I think it's karmic that we have done this before, and gradually you get more and more the feeling that the only thing that you really want is to find God. And in any one lifetime, especially growing up, that is hidden from you for a while, but then it emerges. So your spiritual efforts from the past emerge in this lifetime. And I think it's unlikely that a person just starting out will be completely dedicated to a spiritual search. But gradually, if we, in this lifetime we do everything we can, then in the next lifetime we'll carry that impetus with us. And then the time comes when karmic, one might say almost compulsion, karmic compulsion brings a lifetime where it's possible to live the whole lifetime in alignment with your highest aspirations. So I think it's partly karmic, partly that we've been doing this in past lives, but also that you make the choice in any given lifetime and in any given day to dedicate some time to your spiritual search. If you don't keep that flame alive, then it will never die out completely, but it'll just become a kind of a glowing ember that doesn't have real light and fire to it. So we have to keep alive in the present moment our discipline toward our aspirations. And if we do that, then it grows and grows.
But then kind of expanding out beyond just us, Yogananda came with a world mission to uplift consciousness at this point in time, transitional age. And I am so, I don't know what word to use, grateful, in awe of the people I see being drawn to Master's teachings, to Ananda. We're sitting in, others are in the room with us now who are central leaders of Ananda. And I see people coming, and maybe they're young, maybe they're in their 20s or their 30s, but they're just on fire to do this. And I think it's not any one of us. It's a power that's a divine power that's coming into the earth now. And people who have ears to hear are saying, I want to do this with my life. And it's so beautiful to see the next generation coming and the next generation. And you think, wow, Master's work is going to just keep getting stronger. So it's not about us. It's about something much bigger than the individual.
Yes, and I think Yogananda ji, he even got that, that strong call at the age of 8 or 9,
From
right?
birth, really.
Yes, yes. Yeah, of course from birth, but I think during that time he was feeling very strongly to go to Himalaya.
Oh, yes,
No,
that's
yeah.
right.
And
That's
yeah,
right.
yeah. So what do you feel, what is the role of guru or mentor in our awakening our true potential, the role of...
Well, the guru plays several aspects in our life. One is that he brings teachings. We were talking earlier about reading books. In Yogananda's case, the great autobiography of a yogi. When I read that, I loved the content, but more than anything, I just knew to the core of my being that this person was speaking the truth. And it was different from the truth that I could understand. And some miracles I had to put on the shelf. I couldn't quite accept them, but I couldn't reject them because he said that they had taken place. So it was that powerful vibration of his consciousness. So teachings are one part, but the consciousness of the guru has a kind of a magnetism to it that some gurus don't even speak. They don't write, they don't speak, they just are. And being in their presence, your mind changes. I met the great saint Ananda Ma, and it was a very, very uplifting experience. But she would go to a village that she'd never been at before. She would maybe just sit by a well, and pretty soon people would come around. She wouldn't say anything. She would just be there. And an hour later, she was ready to leave, and they would be weeping because they felt like we're losing our own mother. She's leaving us. It was just her vibration, her magnetism, and the uplifted magnetic influence of her consciousness, the love, the universal love that a guru brings. So teachings, yes, but magnetism and love and the grace of God. Really, it's God wanting to help us. So God manifests himself in the form of a guru, and the guru gives personally to those who are aligned with that consciousness. So, as Yogananda said one time, some of his disciples were helping him, and he said, "Oh, thank you so much." And they said, "No, no, no, thank you, Master, for all you've given." And he just chuckled. He said, "It's God helping God. That's his drama." So the guru is God helping God, but the guru is aware of his unity with God, and he's helping the God in us to awaken to that awareness.
Yeah, so true, so true. But I believe, like, after, leaving our life, I think we have to liberate. So I think Guru play a role of catalyst, or as you said, Guru being a god, helping a god. So what is the true liberation when it happens? Because at the end we have to leave everything, right?
It's not, you don't, it's the change of consciousness where you no longer identify with the ego.
Right.
And you just can, you feel yourself in as part of a greater reality. There's that marvelous chapter in autobiography, An Experience in Cosmic Consciousness, where Yogananda is in his guru's ashram in Serampore, Sri Yukteswar, and is it in Serampore? Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And he called, and he's a young man at the time, and Yukteswar calls him down, and he's been trying to meditate, and Yogananda has, and Yukteswar said, the time has come now for your desires to be fulfilled, and he just taps him on the heart, and his just awareness begins expanding, expanding, until he feels himself one with everything, everything. And then after that experience, Sri Yukteswar hands him a broom, and he said, "We still have much work to do. Let's go sweep the porch." And so it's not, and that was part of the mission of Yogananda. You don't have to go to the Himalayas. You don't have to run away from daily life. We can have that state of expanded awareness that we are not limited by the ego, we are not identified, we are part of something so much more, and then go and live your life.
So do we need to compete with the world or with our own self to work on the true potential?
I think competition is not a good word, because competition, by its definition, is two forces struggling against each other, even struggling against yourself. I think it's more cooperating. That's how Yoga Swami had a wonderful, in relationship to the Guru, he said, he called it cooperating with grace. And so if we just say how to improve myself, not by grim fighting, competing, but by cooperating with the power of divine consciousness that transforms us. And when we compete with others, again, we're affirming separation. And that's just the opposite of what we want. We want to affirm unity. We were at our community in Assisi, this actually was last year that this happened. We were having a satsang with a small group of Russian devotees in one of the little temples there. And then they left, and then the next group was coming in. And this was in the midst of, after the war had started, the next group that was coming was a group of Ukrainian devotees. And they just paused. One group was coming in, one group was coming out, and they paused for a moment, and they knew who each other were. But it was like there was a sense, we're brothers and sisters in God. We're not fighting. Maybe they're fighting, but we're not fighting. And so it was a beautiful moment for everyone.
As you mentioned about meditation, here would I like to give some other tools or techniques to practice, or what we really do in Kriya Yoga. Do you practice in your life too?
Mm-hmm. Well, Yogananda gave several techniques. First of all, the common thread in all of our techniques has to do with energy. Yogananda said in this age, which Sri Yukteswar defined, that we're in the age of Dwapara Yuga. And the keynote of Dwapara Yuga is energy. And so we see all around us the new forms of energy, the use of energy, and we carry energy in our pockets with our mobiles and can connect with anyone, anywhere in the world with it. So in this age of energy, the techniques that we use have to do with controlling energy. From the ancient term is energy is prana, universal conscious energy, and pranayama is the ability to control that. So our techniques, we have a technique of watching the breath, which is, if you do that, it will bring about a deep sense of peace in your and calmness in your consciousness. We have Kriya Yoga, which moves under the control of your consciousness. You move energy up and down the spine, and that, when you get your energy withdrawn into the spine and brought to the higher centers, you feel a sense of bliss. And then Yogananda also brought a technique that he said was his unique contribution to the science of yoga, which is called energization exercises, or he initially called them tissue will exercises. So you send, under the control of your willpower, you send energy to all of the tissues, to your cells, and in that way, if you're tired and do the energization exercises, you become less tired. And ultimately, if you do them with really deep concentration and send energy, it drives out disease. And so we live in a community where people practice this. We have a clinic, and the doctor said that people from Ananda, on average, are 10 years younger than their chronological age. And it's in the same environmental area as a lot of other people. So the clinic serves 5,000 people, 300 of which are from Ananda. But he said the people from Ananda are 10 years younger than their chronological age. So these things work on physical as well as mental, emotional, and spiritual levels.
Swamiji, I heard you are a great painter. You are a great artist. So how do you do that, and what is the role of art in, how it helps in spirituality?
Well, art, creativity is a very wonderful way to express the divine creativity that flows through us all. I would have to correct you. I certainly do not consider myself a great painter. I consider myself somebody who greatly enjoys painting, and that's a difference. But I feel when I paint that, one, I'm trying to express higher values. In many of my paintings, the colors are not quite natural colors, they're enhanced so that it's as if I'm trying to build a bridge between this world and the astral world, where colors are more beautiful and brighter. But also the shapes, the themes, I try to do painting in such a way that it uplifts the consciousness. And there are so many ways to uplift consciousness. One is through words, which we write blogs and we give lectures, but another is through painting, another is through cooking, another is through music. There are many, many ways, but any artistic expression, we should really try to feel that we're doing that partly as a way of expressing creativity, but partly as a way of bringing love and joy and just sharing with others. And those are spiritual qualities that can be expressed in a wide variety of ways. But you need to, whatever you're doing, just focus on doing that. But if you do what you're doing with love and joy, then that quality will come through.
Yeah, yes. I felt you both are so compassionate, so loving, so caring. And how did you achieve this state of consciousness?
I don't know. I think, you know, Ananda as an organization and our great teacher, Swami Kriyananda, it wasn't about organizational. It was just being friends with people. And so I think over our lifetime of experience, you start out thinking of people as being different from you, as different races, different languages, different nationalities. And if you travel and have experience, you just see that basically everybody's just like you. There's one life and we're all living it. We're all trying to be happy. And as if you can break down the barriers, which I think has come naturally, because people have been so loving and so kind to us that, and we have these great teachings, we just want to share them. I don't see ourselves as teachers. I see as people who've been given a great bounty of wonderful teachings, and we just want to share them with our friends. And the barrier of distance has broken down over time. I think that's really it.
So, Swamiji, before concluding, I would really love to know that how are you both, contributing to the world to achieve their highest potential, and yeah, what is the last message to the audience?
Well, I think first of all, that we all have a higher potential. And if we do some aspect of daily life toward trying to align ourselves and achieve that higher potential, then we'll find that we're happier, and we'll find also that we're more successful in our family life, in our business life, in all aspects of life. So the upliftment of our own consciousness will contribute to success on all levels. I think our life is dedicated partly to helping people be aware that time given to achieving their highest potential is the most valuable thing they can be doing. Meditation, yes, but also other aspects, proper attitude, and that really makes a difference in the world. One of the things that was very nice in our life was that we were recognized at the United Nations as global peace ambassadors. I love that. You know, it's not that we were recognized, I don't care about that, but the fact that we have helped to bring peace into the world, to be ambassadors to peace. Peace starts inwardly. And if you can achieve peace in your own self, then you can help achieve it in society. So our lives, Ananda's work has been dedicated to trying to help people uplift their consciousness and to change the world in positive ways and serve mankind in that way.
And I'll just add a few words to, I think a lot of what we do is to build bridges between daily life and spiritual life. And just for people to see that they're not separate realities, it's a continuity. And wherever we go, we try to just make friends, do things fun together, and be accessible so that people can see, oh, I can do this too. And this is one of Swami Kriyananda. He trained us all in this way. But I would like to just end by, this is from the book, How to Awaken Your True Potential. And by the way, this book was compiled, the whole series was compiled by one of my closest friends who died of cancer 2 years ago. So I always feel when I read it that I'm with her, and we would talk about the books and what she was working on. So they're very special to me. So this is Words of Yogananda. It's called A Sacred Invitation. Come out of your closed chamber of limitation. Breathe in the fresh air of vital thoughts. Exhale poisonous thoughts of discouragement, discontent, or hopelessness. Never suggest to your mind human limitations of sickness, old age, or death, but constantly remind yourself, I am the infinite, which has become the body. You are all gods if you only knew it. You must look within. Behind the wave of your consciousness is the sea of God's presence. Claim your divine birthright. Awake, and you shall behold the glory of God. Isn't that beautiful?
Beautiful. Wonderful to have you and to go through your wisdom, and it helped me equally. And I know people who are watching you, they will definitely receive, they will definitely reach to their true potential. Thank you, Swamiji. Thank you, Ma.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's been very pleasant
Yeah.
just chatting together
Lovely.
on an uplifting note like this.
I'm so grateful to you. Like my feelings, I'm literally feeling the great energy over here, and I don't know, I'm feeling as I'm in Himalaya and in the lap of a mother. Thank you so much. Pranam. Friends, I know you loved this episode, and I would request you, please reach out Anand Sangha group to work on yourself. If you are really searching for something, if you are seeking something, then definitely the path of Yogananda ji is going to help you as it helped me too. Thank you, friends. Thank you for watching this episode. Please share this video with everyone, and please like, share, subscribe, PMC English. Thank you one more time.